So I'm going to be telling some bird stories first. And my father, I don't know exactly how he met Roger Tory Peterson. Roger Tory Peterson, I'll just call him Roger Peterson because that's what I grew up hearing, was the person who made the first field guides to birds of North America and introduced the field guide system. And somehow my father met him during the Depression, and my father had a car. Roger Peterson knew the birds, and there was a man named Dr. Cobb that had money to buy gas, and the three of them pooled what they each had to offer and took a lot of trips up and down the East Coast looking for birds, and my father learned his birds that way. Oh, this is interesting. This is my father's big camera. He used two cameras. He used a 4x5 format Autographlux camera, which was this one. You'd set it up on a tripod, and you looked down this collapsing tube at a ground glass and saw your picture in there. And it was a single lens reflex. You snapped the picture and the mirror moved and you stopped seeing the picture while you were taking it, and it clicked. And then you had to pull on some piece of paper and it rolled the negative around so that the next negative became available. And this was the type of camera that Roger Peterson recommended for black and white bird photography. Well, these pictures are in Gaspé, Quebec, Gaspé Peninsula. He took a lot of gannet and bird pictures up there that I'm sure we'll see later on. Oh, this is Roger Peterson. But he seems to have spelled it wrong. He spelled it with a J instead of a G. I don't know. This is a red-winged blackbird, female red-winged blackbird with a nest. He got married and took a trip around down the East Coast into Florida, down into Mexico, and up into California where he settled. And that trip lasted a year, and for that year, by adjusting his year from August to August, he had the record for the most birds seen in a year at that time. Roger said in one of his books that my father saw about as many species as Audubon did in his lifetime on that trip. One of the things that he did on that trip was see ivory-billed woodpeckers, which are now believed to be extinct. And so this is a picture of the ivory-billed woodpecker habitat where my father saw this bird, and the bird itself is a tiny speck here on the picture, but he blew it up. And this is a rather poor picture, but someone who knows what an ivory-billed woodpecker looks like could distinguish it from a pileated by this picture. So that is some proof that he really did see ivory-billed woodpeckers. After my father settled in California and before I was born, Roger Peterson came out to the West gathering information for his first Western field guide. And my father took him on some trips there, and in particular showed him California condors. This was taken in 1940, and this is a California condor. When he settled in California and got married for a second time and had me as his oldest child, and then later on, he was going on lots of bird trips almost every weekend, and he took my mother and I along. He taught me birds. I remember him taking me down to the Los Angeles River, which was just a few blocks from our house. It wasn't much of a river. It was lined with concrete and had a little few inches of water at the bottom. It smelled like a sewer. But we saw saw my first green heron down there. I remember that. And then I got in the habit later when I was in junior high school, of going hiking in Griffith Park and seeing a lot of birds there. These are very nice paintings. They were drawn by Don Eccleberry. Him and I have spent time at Don Eccleberry's house on Long Island when I was in New York. One thing you notice about these is that all the birds are in different postures. They're artistically very nice, but there's nothing marked about what you use to identify the birds. These are the pictures from the Water Bird and Game Bird Guide. And Audubon himself painted birds in all different positions, sometimes rather wild positions but these are all natural positions that you see birds in, but they are not set up on the Peterson system. This is my father's telescope that he used for birding, and it's made by Bosch and Lohm. He always referred to it as an army spotting scope. It has an eyepiece that's covered by this, and this is a 19.5 power eyepiece. There are two other eyepieces that can be screwed in place of this one. It's clear that he did some home jerry-rigging to put it onto a mount. My father was always trying to make knots, and he did everything double and triple. This is so typical of him. You can see how he has wound the cables around each other and then also stapled them onto the wood here and here with staples. He would fix electric cords, and he would separate the two strands, and he would put rubber self-vulcanizing tape around the two pieces, and then he would put those next to each other, and he would put friction tape around all of that, and end up with a great big lump on and whenever an electrician saw it, he would make fun of it. But that's just the way he was. He figured out ways that would work and got things made. And so there's not a lot to say about this scope besides that I know of. It doesn't say anything on it that says that it's an Army spotting scope. It says Bosch and Lohm Optical Company, which was a very good, at one time, a very good optical company, until I believe the name was bought up, like so many other names, bought up by generic companies that produced lower quality merchandise under that name. I'm not certain that that's the case with Bosch and Lohm, but it was the case with some other brands.